Good evening and thank you for joining me. Today is Friday, November 25th, 2022, and I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving yesterday, and we have quite a bit to talk about. Right now, I'm keeping an eye on a potentially severe thunderstorm outbreak that will occur here in Louisiana on Tuesday. The system responsible for that outbreak is going to give Denver some snow, especially north of Denver, and will bring severe storms, tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. The Storm Prediction Center has already put out a enhanced risk of severe storms across north central Louisiana, southeast Arkansas, and western Mississippi, and a 15% risk or a slight risk of severe weather across east central Texas, central Arkansas, going into northeast Arkansas, the southern tip of Missouri, western Tennessee, and northeastern and northwestern Mississippi. This could be quite the outbreak on Tuesday. This could be similar to what happened on November 4th in northeast Texas. We could be having a outbreak of tornadoes on Tuesday. More on that in just a moment. So the system that will be responsible for the severe storms will come out from the Rockies, will move into the Great Plains, and a plume of Gulf moisture will go into easternmost Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee, and this will set the stage for some violent storms Tuesday afternoon and evening. What are the hazards for Tuesday? The primary threat at the moment looks to be damaging winds. So now we're looking at the GFS for Tuesday afternoon. Here the GFS is showing temperatures in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees, and dew point values will be in the low 70s. We're going to be having some pretty high dew point values. This is why I'm very concerned. I mean, look at these dew point values being right near 70. This is really concerning. You know, you're going to have dew point values in the mid to high 60s going all the way into southern Arkansas. So this area will have some really intense storms. I mean, looking at Cape, this is just looking at Cape right now. Cape values will exceed 2,000 according to the GFS, but the GFS is notorious for underplaying Cape and the supercell composite, because the high resolution models are usually much higher in actuality. So my thinking is Cape will actually be between 3,000 and close to 5,000 on Tuesday afternoon and evening. Supercell composite, which was actually showing values between 4 and 7, about 6 in northeast Texas and parts of Louisiana to southern Arkansas, is now showing, yeah, this looks about similar to what I saw. So about hour 99, yeah, about 5 and 6. Yeah, we're looking at a pretty high SCP composite for Tuesday afternoon. That's supercell composite parameters. Potential hazard type tornado. So yeah, and I'm not liking this at all. I'm not really seeing that inversion anymore that it was visible yesterday. So the photographs are showing very high moisture bands. You're going to be warmer than your air parcel. The air parcel will be warmer than the air temperature all the way through almost 12 kilometers. You're going to have some very high growth, very high development, and you're going to have a lot of shear. I mean, look at those wind barbs. So photographs showing 69 degrees of wind shear. It's not good. Same classic supercell. Look, a lot of moisture here. Look at the temperature and the dew point being right close together. So it's going to be a lot of moisture, and you're going to have mid-level dry air, which is definitely supportive of supercells. That means you'll have those RFDs. You know, you're going to have some cooling up here during when those storms form. So you're going to have those cold RFD winds coming in and, you know, form tornadoes. RFD winds that come on the backside of the supercell is very important for tornado genesis. And so this is not good. I mean, I'm really concerned about Northeast Texas and especially Louisiana. I wouldn't be surprised if the Storm Prediction Center actually puts out a moderate. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, for the GFS to have such high values is not good. This is really bad with STP and convective inhibition. This is really bad. You know, the supercell composite parameters are definitely pretty high. And that's the 18Z run. 0Z run, it's even worse. Yeah, this does not look good. Really doesn't. Plus, you're going to get that nocturnal low-level jet coming in, and that will definitely enhance your tornado potential, especially after the sun sets. This is really bad. Yeah, this is very concerning for Tuesday afternoon. I haven't even seen the high-resolution NAM runs. Like, I haven't even seen the NAM yet. Haven't seen any of the high-res models yet, but it doesn't look good. This is really bad. I mean, I do see a little bit of an inversion, but that's after sunset. You know, SCP parameters of 6 is pretty significant to find on the GFS. I mean, that's definitely concerning. Definitely very concerning. And, but will there be convective precip around the same time? Yep. A lot of supercells. But this doesn't really look like a tornado outbreak for Wednesday. This looks just a squall line will probably form. There's going to be a lot of discrete cells here. You're going to have a lot of discrete cells. Look at 3 kilometer helicity. That's not good, especially northeast Louisiana, southern Arkansas. I'm really concerned about this area here. This is the area I'm most concerned about. Towns here in this region include Monroe, Rayville, Bastrop, Oak Grove, Lake Providence, Tallulah, Vicksburg, Winsboro, Winsboro, and extending back towards Ruston. There's also going to be severe weather here, but I think the most dangerous storms for tornadic potential will be in this region here, across northeasternmost Louisiana, westernmost Mississippi, and southern Arkansas here. So towns in Arkansas include Crossett, El Dorado, Rolling Fork in Mississippi, Greenville in Mississippi. I'm really concerned about this general area, and I wouldn't be surprised if they issue a moderate here, and you know, when the time comes. So looking at the Storm Prediction Center for day 5, this is where I think it's going to be. They're going to issue probably a moderate here. Probably going to put a small moderate in there somewhere, because right now it looks like the outbreak is definitely going to be pretty strong. I mean, this looks really strong. This is only hour 96, and they're already showing very high potential for severe storms. The supercell composite right now is, as I said, it's around a 6. This is really impressive for the GFS going this far out. When we were looking at the Texas outbreak for November 4th, this SCP parameters were also in the 4 to 7 range, and that's what I'm very concerned about. But there wasn't such a big area, and the Cape values weren't as high. But we just had a big blow up of storms. We had a moderate issued right here, and National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center nailed it. I really hope that, you know, whatever the Storm Prediction Center issues, I hope it busts in a good way, like no major tornadoes occur, because there's quite a few towns in northeastern Louisiana. Not big towns, but you do have towns. You even have Natchez, Louisiana, Natchez, Mississippi down here. And that region is actually an enhanced risk. I mean, Vicksburg down to Natchez. I mean, Natchez is also in the what would be considered enhanced risk. This is a slight. This is an enhanced. You know, the fact that they're issuing a 30-day, 30% out 5 days is very impressive. It really is. You know, this is really impressive to be issued this far out. They even issued a 15%, I believe, 6 days out. And that is pretty impressive, especially since even for the Texas outbreak, they only issued a 15%, and that was like 5 or 6 days out. So, ended up being very significant. So, we are not able to see what the storm structures will be on radar, but by looking at the SQT plot, we can see that there's going to be a lot of convection. There's going to be a lot of instability and convection. So, very dangerous storms indeed. You even have storms in Texas. I mean, this entire area could be at risk, but I'm more concerned about here because of your helicity, 3 kilometer helicity. But we also need to look at surface helicity. That's basically what will determine if a tornado makes it to the ground. Enhanced helicity, like 3 kilometer helicity, could cause a storm to rotate, but how strong a tornado would be, or if a tornado reaches the ground, also depends on low level helicity, about 1 kilometer EHI. See, 3 kilometer advanced helicity index. Yeah, not good. Not good at all. I mean, we could even have an outbreak here in Texas. I mean, this is where your highest Cape values would be. I mean, this area could bust. Like, and this area could actually be where the outbreak occurs. It could end up being here. They may actually have to shift it further southeast. I mean, this isn't set in stone where this is going to happen. It's not like, okay, it's going to be here. They can shift it further southeast. They can move it further north. A lot can happen. And all these towns that I mentioned and towns nearby are at risk of severe weather. Even towns in Texas, apparently with what the GFS is saying, such as Lufkin and Nacogdoches, Texas, and also South Toledo Bend. We're talking about a pretty wide area of severe weather. Alexandria could be at risk too. Because Alexandria is central Louisiana, which is right in here. I mean, this entire area can be at risk. We could be having a pretty significant outbreak here. We could end up having a very long track tornado like what happened in Kentucky last year because the conditions are favorable for those type of storms. Fast moving supercells, very high wind shear, very high cape, a lot of instability. You're going to have a cap in place. I mean, this can go south in a major way. And I hope people are prepared for what could be a very, very destructive day on Tuesday evening. So now we're going to change gears and look at winter forecast. Looks pretty interesting, I have to say right now. The NAO is going negative, and yeah, things are definitely looking interesting winter weather-wise, especially towards the middle of December. So here's Greenland. And look at that. That's a negative NAO. See how warm Greenland's getting? And then see how this turns? This is a negative NAO, and look what happens. You see how this is becoming very elongated? That's your blocking right there. But why isn't it affecting the Northeast with cold weather as the NAO normally does? Is because your high is all the way up here. And normally, when you get coastal storms, you need to have a high over Labrador here. So you get a high here, usually a storm here, and then another high here, and then a storm here. That's how it normally works with the negative NAOs, negative North Atlantic oscillations. So here, you're going to be having cold air going pretty far south. But the interesting thing is, look at that. Oh, look, December 11th. Oh, coastal storm. It's going to be rain along the coast, but snow inland. Typical La Nina. Very typical La Nina with blocking patterns. This is what normally happens during La Ninas. Typical La Nina behavior. You know, a lot can happen between now and then. I already looked at the euro, but I'm going to look at it again. So this is looking at the 12Z euro. So doesn't look like it's going to be too cold, but it's going to be very interesting in Seattle. That's for sure. It's going to get very cold there and potential for some snow, especially Monday. Monday and Tuesday, but more so Monday. Monday could be very interesting in Seattle. You know, maybe not a lot, but there's going to be snow. There's going to be some some freezing rain potentially. You know, down to around Portland. You know, very low elevation snow. This could be very interesting indeed, guys. So looking at the GEFS, the ensembles. Definitely showing some cold weather coming in. Mean snow accumulation. Not showing a lot of snow, but it is showing some. Maybe showing, yeah, that's the storm in Texas right now. That's bringing some severe storms to central Texas with small hail and a very heavy snow right now in western Texas around certain towns right now are getting some pretty heavy snow. Seminole, Texas, Denver City, Plains, Texas, getting moderate to heavy snow right now. Some of the heaviest snow right now is near Friona, Texas, but there's also mixing with some rain. The Amarillo area is getting some rain right now. But there's also a lot of bright banding going on, which is indicative of mixing precip right now near Amarillo. Those aren't, some of them looks like storms, but actually it's mostly bright banding if you believe it or not. I'm going to look at lightning maps, but on radar, looking at Amarillo, it looks like some pretty strong storms. You know, if you were to be a meteorologist, you'd be thinking, oh, those are storms. But nope, there's no lightning. That's indeed bright banding. But most of your storms are around the Austin area. Those are hailers. And there is a severe thunderstorm warning right now for just east of Austin. And yep, there is definitely a strong CC drop. Definitely hail. Pretty good hail signature there. No rotation. But no, there's some hail. Storm is warned right now for quarter-sized hail. Yep, just quarter-sized hail. Not for wind, just for hail. There's a lot of cold air aloft with this system. The National Weather Service in San Antonio has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for eastern Caldwell County in south central Texas. Of course, this is not a live stream, but basically these storms are producing hail. These are hailers, not windstorms. Lubbock, Amarillo is just getting mixed precipitation right now. Mixed precip right now in Amarillo. So, let's just say that looking at the NAO right now, North Atlantic Oscillation, definitely looks interesting. It's going to go positive. I mean, there's a chance it could just go slightly negative. Maybe it will do something like go positive and then just go neutral. I'm thinking it's going to be neutral. I mean, I don't agree with some of those lower models. I don't think it's going to be down to -1 or 2. I tend to disagree with that. But you never know. Like it did suddenly go negative when it wasn't forecast to do so. This kind of took me by surprise because I thought it was just going to slowly go down, but now it's doing it a little bit more. I guess La Nina is having more of an impact right now. And the Arctic Oscillation is even going crazier than the AO, going really negative, which I find a little surprising considering the PNA right now is really negative as well. We're forecast to go negative. Wow. Wasn't it already supposed to go negative? It looks like it doesn't want to go negative, but it is. Look at that. Yeah, see that? That was not forecasted. It was forecasted to be negative, but because it's neutral instead of being negative, there is a chance we could actually get a good system. I mean, look at that. That's a pretty good burst of positive PNA. Positive PNA is good if you want snow in the Northeast. Ridging in the Pacific and troughiness on the East Coast. You know, if you're going to have a positive PNA, negative AO, and a negative NAO, that's basically a perfect trifecta for winter storms. Because then you would get a lot of ridging. So basically, here's what would happen in a positive PNA scenario. Because right now it's neutral. It's pretty neutral, which I agree. It is definitely neutral. Positive PNA would, really positive PNA would look like ridging here. You would see basically, this is what a positive PNA looks like. You would see something like this, and then you would get a trough on the East Coast. But if you get a lot of blocking, it could really go down. Like you could get something like this, where this could be here, and you would be getting like a really strong dip in the jet stream, and then this could be something like that. You'll get something like this, or like this. That's a really strong polar vortex. I mean, that is very strong, even though they're showing negative. But it definitely looks like a negative NAO. Definitely looks like a negative AO. Right here, this is where it looks like a negative NAO right here. The only reason it's all the way out here is because you're having the also what appears to be a neutral to negative PNA. See all that cold here? And then 12Z looked like this. I mean, it almost had it going down. I mean, look at this. You had a very strong, that is really, really cold. That is a very, very strong cold blast. I mean, wow, that is some really monsterly cold air. That is definitely temperatures of like negative, more colder than negative 30. That is bitterly, bitterly cold air. I mean, that is, wow. And this is not even, it's not even winter. And wow. Look what the 12Z had. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Let's look at the Atlantic, see how it formed. Probably forms from like a cutoff low. Cold core low. Yep. Cutoff low. Wind speed, and does it form from a cutoff low? Oh, looks like it does. Look at that cutoff low. This thing cuts off right here. Yep. So you get this trough here. Non-tropical trough, and then look, it cuts itself off. You have warm waters here, and then it becomes tropical. Incredible, right? This is definitely a tropical system. That is pretty strong, actually. That is definitely a hurricane. And then right now, let's look at the current run. That's Deus, that's for Atlantic Ocean. And look at that. Similar system, look. And it gets absorbed by cold front, so it's kind of already frontal. Then look, it is undergoing bombogenesis, turned undergoing bombogenesis, and then look at that. Boom. Just blows up and goes right into green. Like this is a very, that is definitely a negative NAO. And then look what happens with your negative NAO. So we're getting coastal systems. And cold air going into the Arctic. I mean into Europe. And cold air going into Europe. So let's look at tropical tidbits right now. So I'm going to be looking into GFS. So let's look at Europe. Because a negative NAO would definitely impact Europe. Major cold air. So let's look at thermodynamics and look at 700 millibar temps. Yeah, that's normal. You know, you're probably having some colder temps at 850. But, you know, you're going to have above freezing temps probably around here. You know, above freezing. So this will probably all be below freezing. Like around this area here, you'll be below freezing. Let's see. So, little storm going into Belarus. And there's Poland right here. Belarus, Ukraine. So yeah, some pretty simple cold core low. Storm, and then look at that. Look at that major storm. So you're definitely dealing with some cold air coming into Europe because of that negative NAO. But then look, some of that Arctic air wants to go into Europe. See how it's going straight down? Because remember how Greenland was having all that warm air going northwestward? Let's go to northern hemisphere. So remember, you're having all this warm air going this way. So, where does that warm air come from? At 850 millibars. You would think it's coming from the, but believe it or not, it's actually, some of this is actually coming from the poles. This is, believe it or not, because of that warm air from the Atlantic Ocean is making its way here, not like this, but more like through the pole regions. I think it's actually going southward, or from the north. And then finally gets, you know, really cold again. 1,065 millibar high, really impressive. North America. Let's look at North America, right? This is what I wanted to show you guys. Look at all that warm air. And there's Europe over there. So all that warm air floods in. And there's your polar vortex here, right? But why is it so, why is the, you know, the Arctic air not like going down like it did in 2014, 2015? It's because your PNA isn't that positive. But now look at that. Here's a positive, what looks like a positive PNA, right? Warm air in Alaska. But you're also getting cold air coming down here. You're not having a ridge here, right? So you're still getting cold air here. But then, look what happens. Big ridge, trough here. You know, it wants to go down, but then look. The NAO becomes, kind of forces it north. Normally what the NAO does, it forces it to go south and then like loop around like this. You kind of get this cold air dome like this. So this is really far out, so a lot can happen. We can still have a major Arctic outbreak go, you know, just crash down. See how it's moving southward? Here, the polar vortex. Associated with this low, it's moving south, 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 south. Here, a piece of it breaks off here, kind of gets really disrupted. Yeah, it's basically the polar vortex here. I'm not sure if this is going to be neutral. I think this is probably positive, and then briefly going negative, and then yeah, this is definitely a negative AO. Yeah, definitely a negative AO right there. Wow, that's negative. Yeah, it's a negative right there. Or at least a piece of it broke off there. So definitely looks like a piece. Oh yeah, so this is breaking off. Actually, this is, believe it or not, is coming from Alaska. This is from here. So this has nothing to do with the polar vortex. So again, looking at the AO, depends on how negative it's going to get. Is it going to be negative and then going positive? Could this be when the Arctic air comes in? Looking at the NAO, how negative is it going to get? Is it just going to be slightly negative where it's not going to have much of an impact, or is it going to be really negative and create major blocking? That is what remains to be seen. Very important. And but the reason some of this is happening is because while the PNA, or while you're going to have a negative NAO, negative AO, you're going to have a negative PNA. You know, that's really important. It's very important. So let's look at SST temperature anomalies for right now, for global ocean temperatures. So you're starting to get maybe some cold air here. Now you're getting mixed signals because it's getting a little bit cold here, a little bit warm here. So you're getting mixed signals. And now all that warm air that was here is starting to break up. So now maybe it looks like it won't be very negative now, the NAO. It does look kind of broken right now. You're basically just getting a very mixed signal with teleconnections and ocean temperatures. You're dealing with a traditional warm AMO, Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation. You're dealing with a La Nina, which usually is a cold PDO. This is all supposed to be cold with a cold PDO. This is all supposed to be warm, right? You get a couple cold patches, but this is supposed to be warm, and then all of this is supposed to be cold. But right now we're not seeing this, so very difficult to forecast how this winter is going to be, or at least how the next few weeks are going to be. So I'm going to leave it at this. Thank you for watching, and again, we must really watch out for Tuesday when we're going to have a really bad tornado outbreak in northeastern Texas and northern Louisiana and southern Arkansas and Mississippi. You need to really watch out for western Mississippi. I mean, this outbreak can actually possibly go from northeast Texas into Mississippi. I mean, we could have a couple long track tornadoes. And I don't know if we're going to have another quad state type tornado, but there's potential for that as well. Thank you for watching and have a great day.